shoes on or shoes off inside the house? This is actually really complicated. I didn't realize both sides of thinking can be seen as disrespectful. So for the blue nations like the US and the UK, shoes on is the norm, but some homes prefer shoes off. In the orange, like South Africa, Madagascar, as well as Canada, the norm is shoes off, but some households prefer shoes on. Then there's the vast majority of the world that prefer shoes off, and it's actually considered rude to keep your shoes on, versus the nations in green where shoes on is considered polite and shoes off is considered rude. That's something I never even considered, but I can kind of see how that could be taken in the wrong way. Like, bro, this ain't your house. Keep your shoes on. I myself am a shoes off in my house type of person, but it's just because I don't like to vacuum. You really got to study this map so you don't get left in an awkward situation. The top 25 most popular articles of 2023. We're starting off with Andrew Tate, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We got India up here. There's Elon Musk, the United States. Oh, Matthew Perry. Matthew Perry is literally beating out entire countries. Technically, Ronaldo is just barely beating out Messi. Then there's Barbie, Taylor Swift, The Last of Us. They're all pretty close though. These page views are insane. 2 times 10 to the 7th power. What even is that? How do you do that on a calculator again? Oh, here we go. It's 10 million times 2, I believe. So that means 20 million page views, all within the last 12 months. Above that is Oppenheimer, Cricket World Cup, the Oppenheimer film. In the top 3, the Cricket World Cup, deaths in 2023, and ChatGPT. And the ChatGPT Wikipedia page is dominating. That's 50 million page views, I believe. I'm probably one of them. I had no idea what ChatGPT meant for the longest time. Everyone was just freaking out about it. Good point. Matthew here did get a lot of clips in a very short amount of time. Netflix subscription cost. Speaking of which, I just canceled my Netflix account. And this is part of the reason in the US it is $15 a month. I don't even really watch Netflix. However, in a place like Nigeria, it's actually only $4 a month, but no one is beating Pakistan. Pakistan has the lowest subscription at only $2 a month. Now, this could be due to exchange rate, but I also believe Netflix is probably offering this service at a cheaper cost so they can get more people in, then they slowly raise the prices. I mean, that's also what Apple did with their subscription model. In Turkey, it's only $3 a month. Obviously, Netflix is not in Russia or China. That's why they're grayed out. I guess not in Syria either. It is cheaper in Argentina, but that might be due to the high inflation there. Now, most of Europe is spending less than the US, except for in the great nation that is Switzerland. It is $21 a month there. I don't expect them to be the only country with this price point. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we get up there as well. Places like Ireland, Denmark, and Greenland, it's $16. Netflix currently has over 240 million subscribers, so it's really seeming like they're just going to remain the dominant streaming service forever. The Paratethys, I probably butchered that pronunciation, was once the largest lake in Earth's history, stretching all the way from modern-day Austria from what looks to be the westernmost parts of China. It contained both the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. Of course, this was a time where tectonic plates weren't positioned in the way we all know today. The Italian peninsula was still forming, as well as the British Isles that was connected to continental Europe. It was really holding on by a thread here in the Balkans. Interesting that the mountain ranges clearly have been around for so long, since they still look kind of identical today. I'm just imagining the point where eventually connected to the rest of the Mediterranean Sea. Look how massive this inland sea would have then became. Also, apparently they're still finding ancient shark teeth in Kazakhstan because of this. Speaking of which, how many meters above sea level is the city's center of each capital? Of course, my eyes are immediately drawn to this, -1 from Amsterdam. I'm not surprised. That's why the Dutch are so tall. If the water ever comes back, they'll still be able to put their head above water. But that's still not as impressive as Azerbaijan, -28 meters. That's not feet, that's meters. That's way below. Now, luckily they border the Caspian Sea, so I'm assuming they don't have to worry about sea level rise. Yeah, they are not subject to the problems of sea level rise because it's just a big old lake. Funny enough, literally right next to that is the top country at 989 meters out of Armenia. Turkey's pretty close though. We obviously saw the Balkans have a lot of mountains, which is why they have high numbers. It's also really going to depend on how coastal your capital city is. For example, Madrid, smack dab in the middle of Iberia, versus Lisboa out of Portugal. Even if you do have an inland capital like Berlin, it can still be not that high above sea level. Norway's really playing with fire here. This is what is known as the German Belt in the United States. These are the percentages of people that live in these areas with high German ancestry. This could also be a reason why Wisconsin really enjoys their beer. The Midwest really is just kind of like New Germany. Funny enough though, the US is not the only place that received a lot of German migration. You can also find a lot in Brazil, specifically the southern part, and of course Argentina. In fact, Brazil has about the same level of Germans as even the US. Meanwhile, Canada and Argentina are in the same category. There's also lots of Germans still speaking German to this day in Mexico. I've seen them with my own eyes. It's crazy. Germans just got everywhere. Here is the ancestral background of American presidents. Obviously, the vast majority of ancestry from American presidents are coming from England, but also Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. Yeah, isn't Biden Irish technically? We've also had 8 American presidents with French ancestry. What? 3 from Switzerland? I'm actually surprised to see that there haven't been more Germans, just what we were talking about, as well as 3 Dutch. And then of course there's only 1 outside of the continent of Europe. I guess I'll just let you guys guess. That shouldn't be hard to figure out. Why is Andorra labeled yellow? Was there possibly someone from there? Ah yes, the many definitions of America. This is only the United States of America. These are the 50 states in America. Because this is all America. This is America. Population almost 1 billion. This is what's considered North America. This is Central America. This is South America. This is Latin America. And remember, Guyana and Suriname are not included because they speak Dutch and English. You have to be a part of the Latin languages to be included. Spanish, French, obviously Portuguese with Brazil. Although I'd argue that Quebec is Latin America. There is Hispanic America, which only includes Spanish-speaking parts. So that means no Brazil, no French Guyana, no Haiti, because that's French too. There's Iberian America. This is only between Portugal and Spain, colonies of Portugal and Spain. Over 500 million people. There's Anglo-America, basically places colonized by the English and that still speak English. So Belize, Guyana, some Caribbean islands, and obviously the US, and just the English-speaking parts of Canada. There's what is known as Middle America. This is a less talked about definition. I feel like this could also be seen as Central America, but I guess it really depends. This is more of a geography term. They've got a lot of people living there too. Finally, there's French America, like I mentioned before, Quebec, Haiti, a couple of French islands in the Caribbean, and then French Guyana. I wish there was a non-Anglo-America map included in this. I mean, it would basically be Latin America just with Suriname. Oh, I forgot to mention the island of Jamaica. That's also a key part of Anglo-America. So there's obviously many different ways to define these 2 continents. Some people say it's 1 continent. I mean, even we can't agree on that. Didn't realize there's as many as 20 million people in French America. Maybe even more than that if you include parts of Louisiana. I know Quebec is a lot more French than Louisiana, but there's still definitely some French there. Hispanics in the US, who are the richest and most educated? According to this, it is the Argentinians earning the most among US Hispanics. Medium household income at $80,000 US. Meanwhile, Venezuelans are the most college-educated Hispanics. Costa Ricans and Argentinians are beating out the Spaniards. Meanwhile, Colombians and Peruvians not too far behind. Here are the Nicaraguans, Ecuadorians, Panamanians, Chileans, Cubans. The x-axis represents the share of US Hispanic adults with a bachelor's degree. Look at Mexicans and Salvadorians go. Not very high rates of college degrees, but they be making money. Let's go. Baba boo. Call it. I dropped out twice. Unfortunately, towards the bottom are Hondurans and Dominicans. Although 50,000 is not that bad. This is the average though, but that's still pretty nice. Venezuelans though, with over 60% with a bachelor's degree. That is incredible. That obviously couldn't be me. I can't do that. Which countries own the most US debt? Or basically who we're gonna have to pay up to when someone comes knocking. Surprisingly, it is not China. They're not number 1. It's actually Japan. We owe Japan the most money, and then it's the British. We might as well just become their colony again in order to pay them this back. 3.28 trillion is owned by Japan, China, the UK, and then Belgium and Luxembourg. How did we end up owing Luxembourg 318 billion? What's going on, guys? Also on the list, Switzerland, the Cayman Islands. Then there's Canada, Ireland, and Taiwan. It seems like our debt has somewhat gone down as of 2022. Sorry, no, obviously that hasn't happened. Foreign-owned US debt has gone down. That's the better way to put it. And that's just because we're owing ourselves money. We're just improving that. Obviously, debt just continues to rise and rise and rise. How great. That can't be a problem. Europe's 100 busiest airports. Starting off the list, we have Munich, Germany, with 31 million passengers. Then it's LaGuardia, 32 million passengers. I think I said, wait, it's not LaGuardia. What is that called again? I literally just flew here. Yeah, London Gatwick. Why am I thinking of the New York airport? I feel like the acronym looks similar though. Lisboa is in 8th place with 34 million passengers. Then it's Barcelona. Then it is, that's weird, FRA, but that's not France. This is Frankfurt. Madrid, Spain at 5. Amsterdam at 4 with 52 million. This is the Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, France in 3rd. Of course, Heathrow. I knew that was a huge airport, but it's actually not number 1. I always thought it was number 1. It is actually Istanbul with 64 million passengers, and I think part of that has got to be just like its geographical location. It's kind of in the center of all the Eastern Hemisphere. You're trying to go to Asia or Europe. I mean, that's a big stop that a lot of people have to make, and apparently these numbers haven't fully gone back to pre-COVID levels, so the 64 million might even rise surprise. One of the many proposals for Europe after World War I. The idea of a European Union existed for quite some time before the EU actually even existed. Remember, this is World War I we're talking about, not World War II. This must have been an idea that took place before Russia officially became the USSR. Wait, this actually looks like an idea that might have come out of Germany themselves. Yeah, considering Germany has all this, that would make sense. Things get even more wild than that when the idea that the Papal State has most of the Italian peninsula, except for Greece. They continue their island empire by grabbing Sicily. Funny enough, this does seem like an idea that was proposed by the Central Powers, yet they still had the Ottoman Empire becoming Turkey. They even knew that they were on their deathbed. Meanwhile, Spain, Portugal stays the same. So does Great Britain and Ireland. Meanwhile, the Nordics don't get touched. But arguably the most horrific idea of them all, Serbia, Albania. Who could possibly think this would be a good idea? I don't even think this massive European Union would be the cause of a World War II. It would absolutely be this. My patrons on Patreon, thank you. KirinoIsBestGirl. Sebby, if you hear this, I love you. Traven's annoying friend. I can't sleep without Drew's voice. On your dad, back with the milk. Look outside. Amateur archaeology. A fat normal. Carmel S. Fredrik Tibblin. Inquisitor Zero. Mexican JohnDenver. KirinoIsBestGirl. Lemons Lines. LuxembourgLover. Ortin 516. Robert RyeThePie. TheGreatRalphy. And ZaneyBoi